Hey guys, it's me, Veles-Sage. Today, I am going to continue with my video about the Eternals. Last time, we went over their origins and a small summary of their history in the comics, as well as their powers and abilities. This time, we are going to go over their upcoming and first ever live-action film. We will go over how it came to be, the creative team behind it, the actors, and of course the potential it holds to set the path for future MCU films, as well as future characters we could see. The film was first announced in April 2018. Kevin Feige stated that they were looking to adapt this comic series for Phase 4 in the MCU films. In September, after wowing Marvel with the visuals she planned to bring into the film, Chloe Zhao was announced as the director for the film. Her presentation was so impressive, Marvel was quick to hire her for fear she would take on another project. Her previous work includes Songs My Brothers Taught Me, The Rider, and Nomadland, the latter of which won her the People's Choice Award at the Toronto International Film Festival, as well as the Golden Lion, the Fair Play Cinema Award, and the Cygnus Honorable Mention at the September 12, 2020 Venice Film Festival. Not only was she the director for these films, but the writer and the producer. Given the acclaim her work has received, it is clear Marvel has struck gold. In the months that followed, Marvel fans theorized what the plot could be, what characters would appear, and who would play them. Some actors would be confirmed to be in the movie, though their roles were not yet to be disclosed. In July of 2019, at the San Diego Comic-Con, we were introduced to many of the cast and who they would be playing, as well as a bit of art depicting the Eternals in their gear. So let's go over who we know to be in the film and who they will be playing. First, we have Gemma Chan, who many of you recognize from Mary Queen of Scots and Crazy Rich Asians. However, she also stands out amongst the other cast as having appeared in a previous MCU film in a different role. She first appeared in 2019's Captain Marvel as the Kree warrior Minerva, but is returning once more to play Sersi. First appearing in September 1976 in Eternals issue number 3, unlike the rest of her people who live hidden away, Sersi has lived amongst humans more so than any other Eternal, save for Gilgamesh. She has focused the majority of her power into her transmutation abilities, and is the only known living 5th level adept in the use of this ability. She is said by Sprite to be the strongest of the Eternals, and has even stated that Zurus, the leader of the Eternals, feared her. She has been a member of the Avengers and has had many love interests, among them her fellow Eternal Makkari and fellow Avengers member Dane Whitman, the Black Knight. Next is Richard Madden, known for his roles in movies like Cinderella, Rocket Man, and shows like Bodyguard, and undoubtedly his most recognizable role as the tragic Robb Stark in Game of Thrones. Richard will be playing Icarus. First appearing in July 1976 in Eternals issue number 1, his real name is unknown. He took the name Icarus to honor his son, Icarus, who died trying to fly using a pair of mechanical wings made by his father. Yes, the Icarus. Guy who flew too close to the sun, fell and died and all that. Yeah. Icarus has been one of the most recurring members of the Eternals and has fought the likes of Apocalypse, Maelstrom, Gower, and eventually became the leader of his people, the Prime Eternal. Next is Lauren Ridloff. Appearing in the play Children of a Lesser God and shows like Legacies, New Amsterdam, and The Walking Dead, Lauren was born deaf, making her the first deaf actress to appear in the MCU and the first hearing-impaired hero, Makkari. In the comics, Makkari made his first appearance in November 1976 in Eternals issue number 5. Though he was later retconned that his first appearance was in August 1940 in Red Raven Comics issue 1, and as Hurricane in March 1941 in Captain America Comics issue number 1. Due to his obsession with speed, Makkari has focused all his powers onto this ability, making him almost as fast as light, but at the cost of his other powers being severely diminished. He has witnessed many human events throughout history, and has had an on-again, off-again romance with fellow Eternal Sersi. Later in the series, it was retconned that Makkari had been specifically made by the Dreaming Celestial, and is able to commune directly with it. He has been a member of First Line and the Monster Hunters. Next is Angelina Jolie, who has been in... Okay, seriously, if I needed to tell you who Angelina Jolie is and what she's been in, then you must have been living under a rock. She will be playing the role of Athena, making her first appearance in November 1976, Eternals issue number 5, and later retconned as appearing as Minerva in August 1940 in Red Raven Comics issue number 1. She is the daughter of Eternals leader Zuras. Athena is a highly skilled fighter and has studied under the greatest human and Eternals scholars over the centuries, and fights with many high-tech and ancient weapons. Now we move on to Selma Hayek, who is noted for her role in Frida, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, From Dusk Till Dawn, and will be playing Ajax. Making his first appearance in 1976 in Eternals issue number 2, Ajax is a member of a subrace called the Polar Eternals in the area of Polaria Siberia, maintaining a strong presence in Central America where he was worshipped by Aztecs and Inca people. During the Celestials' third host, he acted as a liaison between the Celestials and his people, and was put into an atomic hibernation till the day they would return. With the coming of the fourth host, he was brought out of hibernation and helped his people with the situation. Next is Barry Keoghan, an Irish actor who has been in several films, including Dunkirk. He will be playing Druig, a recurring enemy to the Eternals with powerful psychic powers, who was a member of the KGB with a taste for torture and a desire to rule. Leah McHugh is a young actress who has been in movies like The Lodge, Totem, A Hot Summer's Night. She will be playing Sprite, an Eternal who looks like a child but is much older than he appears. Sprite was a trickster, often having no concern for the damage his mischief would cause. Eventually, he grew tired of being treated as a child, despite being older than most of the Eternals. He tapped into the dreaming Celestial's power to increase his power of illusions to warp reality and alter memories of the Eternals, as well as to turn himself into a mortal to live and grow as a human would. Eventually, his illusions were undone, and he was killed by Zuras. Next is Korean-American actor Don Lee. Known perhaps from the horror film Train to Busan, he will be playing the Forgotten One, also known as Gilgamesh, who made his first debut in July 1977 in Eternals issue number 13. Spending most of his time living amongst humans, he often used the name of other heroes, being confused with the likes of Hercules and Gilgamesh. Eventually, Zuros deemed him too proud and meddling in human affairs and had him confined until Sprite convinced him to help when the fourth host arrived. He's one of the strongest Eternals and has gone toe-to-toe with Thor and Hercules and has been a member of the Avengers. Next is... God, I'm probably not even going to say this right. Kumail Nanjiani, known for Portlandia and Silicon Valley, and will play Kingo. In the comics, Kingo hails from a Japanese Eternal settlement, first appearing in May 1977, Eternals issue number 11. Kingo is a major star in Japan. Even when fighting in real life, he prefers to fight using the art of the samurai instead of using his Eternal's powers. Finally, Brian Tyree Henry of Atlanta fame as Phastos. Appearing in October 1985 in Eternal Volume 2, issue number 1, Phastos is the Eternals' engineer and has created many weapons and devices for them. When the Eternals went public as heroes, Phastos took the name of Ceasefire. He is often seen with his hammer, which can fire blasts of energy. Also among the cast will be Kit Harington, who many of you will know from Game of Thrones, where he played Jon Snow. He will be playing Dane Whitman, also known as the Black Knight, and will be Cersei's love interest. Also confirmed to appear is the Deviant Crow. Though we do not know who will portray him, a recent leak of a toy planned for release in time with the movie film shows him looking different from his comic counterpart. What exactly his abilities are or his role in the film is unknown, but according to the summary on the back of the toy, he is a deviant unlike anything the Eternals have ever encountered and a very huge threat to the Earth itself. Now, the film was originally supposed to come out in November 2020, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the film has been pushed to November next year. While we have gotten some film art and small details about the movie, there is still a lot we don't know, and some of what we do know is mostly speculation. What we do know is that the Eternals have been put on Earth by the Celestials to guard them from the Deviants, and have been here for thousands of years. The movie will go back and forth between the present and over the course of the thousands of years that they have been here. We also know there will be a love triangle between Cersei, Icarus, and Dane, which is kind of gross, seeing how in the comics, Cersei and Icarus are actually cousins. I mean, I know we got like 2 members of Game of Thrones on here, but seriously, ew. And yeah, for people that don't read the comics, that won't matter, but yeah, that's just, ugh. I'm never gonna be able to like see those 2 together in the comics and not think about this movie. Anyway, speaking of love, one thing confirmed is that Phastos will be in a same-sex marriage, and his husband will be played by Haz Slayman, and the pair will be fathers. Oh man, I probably wrecked that name too. Oh, I am terrible with names. Sorry, guys. This makes Phastos the first gay hero to appear in the MCU. Though Valkyrie was confirmed as being bisexual in interviews, this will be totally canon. I mean, I know there were characters or 2, or maybe a character or 2 in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series that were gay, and the Netflix stuff and Runaways, they had LGBT characters, but this is the first time we actually get it like confirmed in the movies. It's not going to be like something that's hinted at. It's going to be like a part of his character and history and all that. And no, we are not counting that lame ass scene in Endgame with Joe Russo playing a gay guy for like 5 seconds. For most, this doesn't matter, but for members of the LGBT community, this is big. And being bisexual myself, I am really looking forward to, this kind of representation in the comics. So, as you may have known, there have been some obvious cultural and gender alterations when you compare the cast to the comics. Believe me, I've heard plenty of people who like the change, and plenty of people who enjoy screaming woke SJW agenda and blackwashing and how this movie was going to tank because of it. But white people have been playing roles of people of color for generations, so get over it. Now, onto what this movie could pave the way for. It has been confirmed we will be seeing Atlantis in one of the flashbacks. As I mentioned in the last vid, Atlantis was sunk as part of the collateral damage of the Celestials decimating the deviant population in Lemuria. And who do we know is connected with Atlantis? Oh, no, not Aquaman. Close, I mean, if this was DC, sure, but no, I mean Namor the Submariner. King of Atlantis, half human, half Atlantean, and also mutants, anti-hero. Just as Wakanda was mentioned in Age of Ultron and fully appeared in Black Panther, maybe this will pave the way for Namor to show up. Now, that doesn't mean he will appear in this movie. Namor was born in more modern times, but this could just be a setup for him showing up in Fantastic Four, the movie that they are planning on doing. Or, who knows, they might even use his ultimate origin, his ultimate origin, the origin he has in the Ultimate Comics, where he is actually like from Atlantis, and before they sank, they like sealed him up because he was like a lunatic, and basically he's the same, only he's a lot more like villainous. Like he actually attacked Sue for like denying his advances and everything, and he also had like hydrokinetic powers. Like he threatened to like straight up drown all of New York City unless they let him leave in peace, and he also got to kiss Storm. Yeah, kind of hoping they don't go for that angle, but hey. Speaking of mutants, in the comics, Celestials also create the X gene, which would eventually lead to the mutants appearing. We know mutants are going to show up eventually in the MCU after Disney took control of Fox Studios and the rights to the X-Men franchise. Maybe this is how they cut a path for their eventual inclusion to the MCU. While we haven't seen any mutant characters, Wanda and her brother Pietro, also known as Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, appeared in the bonus scene for Captain America, the Winter Soldier, but also gained their powers from the Mind Gem. While we've yet to be told how they will appear, I wouldn't be surprised if this is where they have their origins. And although Pietro and Wanda have never been confirmed as being mutants in the MCU, and after that rather unfortunate retcon of making them not Magneto's kids in the comics, which makes them something, I mean, some kind of mutates, or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised if, like I said, the Celestials are used, like, who knows? It could be that, something happens in the Eternals film that causes, like, maybe the X gene to start activating. Or, it could also be maybe because of the Infinity Gems. I mean, maybe, like, Wanda and Pietro actually are mutants, and that they did have the gene and everything, and exposure to the energies of the Mind Gem activated that, and then because, like, the snap happened 3 times on Earth. And, I mean, Rocket did even say that, Earth was ground zero for, like, more cosmic energy ever seen before. And if you think about it, that didn't just happen once, but it happened 2 more times when Hulk and Tony used the gauntlets. So, I mean, all that energy has to be somewhere left over in the Earth's atmosphere, because, I mean, the whole conservation of mass where energy can't be destroyed. It can just be, like, dissipated or whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised, like, maybe there's, like, leftover energy in, like, the Earth's atmosphere, which causes the X gene to get activated or somehow. Another possibility is, believe it or not, the Inhumans. Now, we are not going to talk about that train wreck of a show from ABC. With the announcement of the Ms. Marvel series coming to Disney Plus and the rumors that the Inhumans are getting a reboot, maybe the Eternals will set up for their appearance in Kamala's show. Remember in the last vid, I talked about how the Kree studied the corpse of an Eternal and saw the potential for the human genome. And that is what brought them to Earth to create the Inhumans, because they saw the potential of using bioweapons. Basically, experimenting on humans, giving them superpowers through the turn Genesis crystals, and, giving them all kinds of, like, powers and abilities for them to use in their war with the Skrulls. And believe it or not, this could also give us a way to bring in Blade. Vampires first started in Atlantis, when a cult used the power of the Darkhold to oppose the Atlantean king, turning one of their dying members, Varney, into a vampire, who quickly killed them. He was the only vampire to survive the destruction of his home. One potential plot involves Thena and Crow, whom in the comics fell in love and had a pair of twins, who Thena transplanted into the body of another woman. These twins, Donald and Deborah, were able to fuse into a monstrous-looking form, but had Eternal-level powers. I'm not sure if Thena and Crow's relationship will make it into the MCU, but it could affect how things go between the 2 groups over the course of the movie. So, we have gone over the director, the cast, the characters, their connections to various groups. Now, let's go over some of the possible future movie plots. Humans, as it turns out, are just one of the countless species experimented on by the Celestials. In fact, we have already met Celestials, Eternals, and Deviants. Our first Eternal was Thanos back in the bonus scene after the end credits of Avengers. His appearance due to what is known as Deviant Syndrome, where an Eternal looks more like a Deviant than, the typical godlike beautiful Eternals. Our first look at a Celestial was in the Guardians of the Galaxy, where we saw Ession the Searcher wipe out a planet and Nowhere, which is in the comics the severed head of a Celestial. And our first Deviants? Well, it turns out Captain Marvel introduced them. Well, the Skrull version at least. See, the Skrulls we see in the comics, and maybe the MCU, are actually the Deviant strand, having wiped out all the mainland branch and the Eternal branch, save for Kleibin, who married Slugurt. Man, these alien names. And these two became the main gods of the Skrull Empire. They were also the antagonists of the God Squad that this God Squad had to face during the Secret Invasion storyline. Among the group was Ajax. Rumors have been swirling that Marvel plans to adapt the Secret Invasion's arc, so maybe the Eternals will play a bigger role for the movie version, if it is incorporated. Ajax himself tried to fight Kleibin, but the latter had evolved to be more than a mere Eternal thanks to the worship of his people, and was able to quickly overpower the former and kill him. Another possibility is Carol facing a foe that could give her a run for her money. a Kree Eternal named Ultimus, who is a prominent villain in the game Marvel Strike Force. He would be a fitting foe for her, I think, as he has gone toe to toe with Thor. And, like, if the Eternals are anything like they are in their comics, I mean, yeah, for sure, like, he could definitely, I mean, I know she's supposed to be, like, the strongest hero, in the MCU, whether you agree with that or not, that's what the creators say and everything. But, I mean, even if she is the MCU, strongest hero, whatever, they have to give her something to challenge her, and, she can't just go crushing right through everything, any ship. She can't just like beat up everyone. She needs someone to like really challenge her, and an Eternal would definitely be able to do that. Plus, the fact that he's a Kree Eternal, like they could probably tie that in. Maybe like she fought him in the past, or maybe he was locked away by the Kree a long time ago. Like they somehow managed to like incapacitate him to like lock him up, and then like maybe some revolutionary Kree want to like wake him back up so they can like continue their wars and expand their empire again, and Carol has to show up to kind of like keep him from doing that. Another thing we have to consider is how powerful Eternals could be in the MCU. Assuming Thanos is still an Eternal in the MCU, remember the damage he inflicted even without the Infinity Stones. He was able to go toe-to-toe with the Hulk without even using the Power Stone and was able to like wreck him. So imagine how powerful the others will be in the movies. I wouldn't be surprised if their power level is a little nerfed. I mean, Thanos is strong in the MCU and he is definitely a danger to everyone, but even he didn't have the exact same abilities his comic counterpart has. Because, like, in the comics, like, any other Eternal, he has, like, powerful cosmic energy manipulation. He has some telepathic abilities. He has some telekinetic abilities. He's super strong. He's super durable. But we didn't see like like the energy projection or the other psychic stuff. It was mostly just like durability and strength. But even then, he was still a danger. And if the Eternals are anything like they are in the comics, we are about to see some major powerhouses enter the scene. I dare say they could be on the same level as Captain Marvel in the MCU, because their abilities would be so similar. Of course, there's also the possibility of more Eternals appearing in future films. One thing I think would be interesting to see is Hyperion. There have been many iterations of this character, but he has always been stated to be like his people are the Eternal version of his reality. So if he does appear, I wouldn't be surprised if they modify his background. So instead of being a obvious pastiche of Superman, they might have it that he's another survivor of Titan. Like maybe it turns out Thanos isn't like the only survivor, that there were some other that they were able to get off planet before things went sideways. There have been rumors of his team, the Squadron Supreme, showing up in the MCU. So once again, another possibility to introduce another character, or the hint for like a possibility of another team, another movie, or whatever, which would be really cool because he's a pretty cool character himself. There's like so many versions of him, just like Superman. So there are so many questions about this film, the fans have, but there are so few answers, and thanks to the current pandemic, we are going to have to wait even longer for answers. But I think we all have the same question. If these phenomenally powerful beings have been around for so long, why haven't they done more to help? I mean, can you imagine if these guys were like around during the last battle in Endgame, when everyone's facing down with Thanos? They could have been a huge help. It's like, I mean, like, get all these guys like fighting Thanos. If they do keep like the same kind of like power level they have in the comics. I mean, Iron Man would probably still be alive because these guys. I mean, like, heck, I mean, Cersei probably could have just like transmuted him into like a cat or something. So that's like a great big mystery. I mean, one theory is that they're only allowed to help humanity when it comes to like the deviants because that's what they're supposed to be protecting the humans from. And so I think I would love to see like there being like these little flashbacks to, like like events of previous X-Men. Yeah, that's not it for a while, but flashbacks to like previous MCU films, like maybe the battle in New York, during the first Avengers, when like the Chitauri are flying around, like maybe like Cersei, Icarus, Kingo, and are all having like lunch or something. They're like drinking coffee, eating some shawarma, and Cersei's like, "Hey guys, you think we should help? This looks serious." And then they see the Hulk flying around, from building to building, squashing Chitauri, and Athena's just like, "Nah, they're good." And I would just, yeah, that would just be hilarious, because I could imagine, like a whole bunch of people being mad, be like, you could have helped us this entire time doing this and that, taking care of Thanos, da da da. In any case, I think this is going to be one of the best MCU films. It may seem presumptuous, but given the cast, the plot, and Chloe's phenomenal work in her previous films, I'm sure anyone who sees this film will be in for a major treat. And with that, I'm going to end this video. Thank you all so much for watching. My next video, I will be talking about a historic and criminally underused member of the Avengers who has already made her debut in the MCU, but we will be seeing more of her in one of the Disney Plus shows. Yeah, Disney Plus. Oh man, I am so messed up. I'm sorry, guys. I meant to say Disney Plus. Who is she? Well, you will have to wait and see. If you like this vid, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. This is Veles-Sage. Peace and blessings to you all.